Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. The team of professionals at the Tax Defense Group are passionate about helping taxpayers resolve their tax debt. Their services include basic tax preparation, tax audits, resolving large tax debts, and more. They actively represent taxpayers throughout the entire U.S. Call today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. We recently launched our website, ucaststudios.com, with articles about sports, special interest topics, and more. We have some cool stuff on our site. To read our content, please visit ucaststudios.com. Welcome to the Talk Spot. This is Marcus, and today I'm joined by Hoops and Hip Hop. Thank you for coming on again.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun to be on the, other side of the podcast as opposed to me being the kind of the host on my own show. So,
well, recently you've been doing interviews with some there's some pretty big names, man.
Right. Yeah. So I've done. We've had about 3 episodes of having a PokeTuber on every week, and I have a different person on. I've had Birdkeeper Toby, I've had Loxton, I had Mystic Umbry on last week, and just sort of picking their brain on different fun, interesting topics. And I think it's done a lot for the show. It's made it just a lot of fun on my end. I think it makes it a lot of fun for the listeners to sort of hear a conversation like that from maybe some of their favorite content creators, just on a more personal or casual level. So I've really liked it a lot.
Who's the granddaddy of PokeTubers?
That would definitely have to be Jaywitz. He's not really much of a PokeTuber now. He just does Nintendo stuff, but he was really the first guy that did Pokemon trivia, and he did Pokemon fact of the day videos, and he did a lot of TCG stuff. He was he was really the first one that sort of broke the ground on making Pokemon videos or making Pokemon videos on YouTube. And he has over he has 1 million or maybe even 2 million at this point subscribers. So he's really big, and he was kind of the one that sort of made me want to do it too. And that kind of more or less applies to most of the PokeTubers that I guess are in my area of size, if you will, where most of them were really inspired by him. So he's definitely the OG.
The first one that I think I ever came across, it was probably 4 years ago, and I know at that point it was probably already really existed, but I don't know, maybe just 4 or 5 years ago, I feel that's when I really started listening or watching a lot of YouTube videos. And I just remember Proto Mario. He was the first guy I ever came across that that I saw. I was wow, this guy's talking about Pokemon all the time. I didn't know it could be done before then.
Right, yeah, and he's definitely one of the older ones, I guess you could say too. Another one is Tamashi Hiroka. She was around since the super early days of YouTube, and she's one of the older ones as well. So,
how would you describe the Pokemon community on YouTube right now? Is it I know for a while there was kind of a little bit of I don't want to say factions going on, but I know that definitely when Sword and Shield came out, that there was obviously a lot of people that weren't very happy with Pokemon. I mean, at least online. I mean, I know that the sales numbers were good, but do you see factions online for Pokemon? And if there are factions, what are they?
For the most part, with the PokeTubers specifically, and with specifically Sword and Shield, basically everyone or most everyone was on the side of this is fine, you're everyone's just freaking out and just making this so much bigger than it needs to be, which was good to see. But then also there were a couple people just after everyone got a chance to play it that were oh, this wasn't my favorite game for this reason, or I wish they would have did something different. So I mean, people did have different opinions, but I think for the most part, everyone was kind of just on board in terms of just having a level head about it. which was really, really nice. But obviously, I mean, people like in terms of the Pokemon YouTube community, I guess I'm sort of just thinking about it in terms of like my own little section of it, because there are, I guess, the people that I know and like have contacts with and stuff like that. But then there are a bunch of other, like, I guess, people that have sort of branched off of that. Because I think I can sort of say, it feels really, really weird for me to say this, especially because, like I said, Jay Witz was like the guy that inspired me and everything. So I just feel like I'm a guy who like was inspired by another guy. But now there's a lot of people that are sort of like inspired by the content that I make and like that other people around me make. So I in a way, sort of feel like I became part of the like, I guess, the second generation of PokeTubers, where we all sort of rose up and like started doing our thing, and now there's like a third and a fourth generation or whatever you want to call it. So there's there's like offshoots of us now, which is really weird to say. But with that being said, there's all these other groups of people, and there are definitely ones that flamed Sword and Shield a bunch. Some very clearly doing it for like attention and views and stuff like that, and just the clickbait of it all, which is just like a whole nother topic of like discussion. But yeah, there were definitely I mean, in my corner, it was very level-headed and nice and just like not a lot of arguments or controversy. But there were other people who obviously were like, I guess, either using the discussion to their advantage or felt differently or things like that. So it was an interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I remember a lot of your videos too, like around the time when Sword and Shield were coming out. Like, yeah, there'd be some people that would just come in and they would, for lack of a better term, they'd just kind of like talk some crap, you know? They'd be like, oh, you're getting paid by Game Freak and whatnot. And it's like...
Right. Well, like right after they made that announcement about the national decks, I immediately sort of did a video. It was basically just a commentary, just speaking my feelings type of video on the subject. And I was just like, guys, this is not a big deal. Like, it really isn't. If Cyndaquil, my favorite Pokemon of all time, gets cut from Pokemon Sword and Shield, which it did, I will not care, because I've used Cyndaquil a bunch in other games, and I'm going to use the new Pokemon in this game, and it's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And it was just my opinion. Like, I wasn't like saying you're wrong or if you feel differently. I was just sort of stating my opinion. And then the comments were like, and the like dislike ratio, it was basically a war, because it was like the like dislike ratio is like halfway thumbs up, halfway thumbs down, and people were like attacking me in the comments and just like going for one side or the other, and it was just a big old mess. I'm very glad that like that is not so much a thing now, because it was like in the heat of the moment, it was just like crazy.
I mean, dude, it was like a Poke War going on. Like,
yeah.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I totally see. I mean, I could definitely see both sides of like the argument where people were, you know, basically saying that, you know, Sword and Shield didn't look as good as it should have looked, and it didn't have functionalities that they thought it should have had and probably should have had. But I mean, on the same token, it's like, I don't know. I mean, Pokemon games have never really been known for like cutting edge technology, like ever. So right. And the fact that they didn't have every Pokemon in it again isn't very surprising, because I mean they've been doing that forever. I mean, look at like even Gold and Silver when they first came out. I mean, like to get a Charmhand or Squirtle or Bulbasaur like organically, like did you have to like defeat the whole game or something like that? Did you have to?
The only way you could, to my knowledge, outside of maybe some like weird event that might have happened, the only way you could have got one of those is by trading it from Red and Blue, which, I mean, could be done, but definitely kind of a sort of a hassle type of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, so look, even the first generation, or the second generation of Pokemon was already doing things that people probably would have been like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, you go from Pokemon Yellow, where you could have had all three of them, and now in Gold and Silver, you can't even have one of them. Like, Pokemon's always been doing things. Like, I feel like Nintendo's MO for a lot of the games that have sequels are, like, to introduce cool ideas and then, like, take away that cool idea. So, like, Double Dash has 2 drivers for Mario Kart, and then the next game totally gets rid of that. It's like, why? It's like, oh, just because we felt like it. Like,
right. I mean, they like to try new things and stuff like that, which is totally cool. But I think the biggest thing was just like people, because it was on the Switch and everything, people were expecting so much. And I think people's expectations sort of got out of hand, and they didn't consider the fact that all of these, I guess, philosophies in terms of how they were making the game would be at work. Because I think when we look back on, like, I guess Generation 8 as a whole, when it's done and like we have all the games that we're going to have from this generation, I think people are going to see more of the big picture. Because I've been talking on my own podcasts how Game Freak kind of has this process where they start with their base game, where they sort of just get their foot in the door, get their feet wet, if you will. And then once they've got that down, they purposely leave themselves room for improvement. So like the next games on the same system don't feel the exact same, and they feel like they're like getting better and moving forward. But then also, like, if you're dealing with like the last game that might be on the Switch versus Sword and Shield, the first game, it's very likely to be more of a kind of a narrative driven type of experience, where like you've got tons of like all the stops are pulled out in terms of features and graphics and everything else, just because they've already they took the time that they needed to sort of figure the system out and develop it and figure out how they want to go about making a game on it. So now they can focus on all these other bells and whistles like later on. And that's even happened with Pokemon games on other systems as well, which I've also talked about. So and that's just not something that people are aware of, which is like totally fine, because you have to be someone like me where you're just like looking at every single detail to kind of pick up on that. But I think you are going to see that kind of thing happen when it's all said and done, where you can look back at the whole set of games on the Switch for the generation and be like, oh, okay, so it was kind of more of a process. They were just building off of like every game they put out, they were doing more to it. And I think, like I said, people will see the big picture a little more.
I mean, I can see what you're saying. I mean, I feel like for myself, I mean, like I've personally, the last generation that like I feel like I really loved and like really like I couldn't stop playing was probably X and Y, like the 6th generation. Like I don't know what it was. Like I feel like I had played all the generations before then, but I remember when the 5th generation came out, I was kind of like, I don't even think I even played the games when they came out. Like I had played it probably like a year after it had come out, and or whichever version I played, black or white. And I thought it was like, oh, this is really good. The story is really interesting, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised. But yeah, when X and Y came out, I just remember being such a cool thing where it was, they brought back so many of the first gen Pokemon. They gave them Mega Evolutions, and it was like, wow, like these Pokemon are relevant and it's cool. And when you start that game, I mean, you can actually get a Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur like in the beginning. You can catch Snorlax, and it kind of felt to me almost like Gen 1.5, where it was like there was a bunch of new Pokemon, but also a lot of the old ones. But yeah, man, I don't know what it was, dude. Like I didn't really care that much for Gen 7. Like I played Sun. I had Sun, and I played the whole game, and I was like, this is like okay. And then this 8th gen, I've only played it actually a little bit. I never even bought it. And I don't know, I just I wasn't really drawn to it, to be honest with you. Like I don't know, it just didn't really. I don't know. It just, to me, it just, I don't know. I didn't feel very like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to play this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a sort of hit or miss type of thing. I think it all just depended on like what you were expecting out of it, and like I don't know, just it just depended on your own personal experience. But I'm excited to see what comes next, because I think just with everything that went on with Sword and Shield, and like I hate to like just say we need to like move on from them because I feel like for me, I feel like they were good games. I enjoyed them a lot. I think they had a lot going for them, but I also think it's the kind of thing that just like for the overall health of the franchise, we need to move on to like whatever the next major title is going to be, just so we can put this in the rearview mirror and start to like get back to the point that we sort of were before Sword and Shield, where everyone was on the same page, everyone was happy, everyone was excited, and there weren't any like problems like there are now. And I think that I'm really convinced that Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be the next game that comes out, and that would be the exact game that could do that, as long as they obviously did it right. If they did it wrong, it could go really, really bad, but I don't think they would, because they already have like a really good base to work with, and I'm pretty sure they know how important that would be. So I feel like that game will sort of just bring everyone together when it comes out.
Yeah, the funny thing about Diamond and Pearl, so like I know that a lot of people are like clamoring or wanting a remake of that game. And when I first heard, like when I guess the desire for that remake was brought to my attention just in some YouTube video, the first thought I thought, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that game didn't come out that long ago, was my first thought. I'm like, oh, it's not that old of a game. And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, like, well, at that time it was probably like 9 or 10 years ago that it come out. Now it's whatever, it's 13 years ago. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like, it did come out a while ago. And I mean, I remember actually buying, I had a Diamond. I remember buying Diamond. I mean, I remember when all these games came out, like, like purchasing them. Like, I remember being a little kid when Gold and Silver came out and buying it. And I totally remember Diamond. Like, I was like a teenager, like I had walked to Target and I had come back to my house and I had purchased it. And at that time, it was kind of like, I was at that teenage age where it was kind of, at that time, I guess overall, like, I don't want to call it nerd culture stuff, but there was definitely, when you were a teenager, when I was a teenager, like 10 years ago, like, there was definitely a little bit more of like a stigma associated with kind of nerd type stuff. Like today, like nerd stuff rules the world. But when I was like 15, 16, there was hardly any other 15 or 16 year olds that would watch like SpongeBob or talk about like Dragon Ball Z, like they were currently watching it.
Well, it's like we all sort of did do that, but we didn't tell anybody we did that because you didn't know who was going to be like, oh my gosh, you watch SpongeBob? What a loser. Versus like someone who was like actually into it. So no one wanted to sort of speak up about it.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell you, when I was like 16 years old or 17, like if I was trying to ask a girl on a date, I would definitely not disclose the information that I was playing Pokemon to her. I would be like, oh yeah, there's my Pokemon. And I mean, sorry.
I had a story that I've told a couple times where I was dating this girl at the time of Black and White coming out, and they had this event to get Victini, where you could get like the Liberty Pass and like get it in your game. And I didn't have internet at the time because you had to get it through Mystery Gift. And so one day when I picked her up to go to school, I got there and she was like still getting ready, so I just sat on the couch and I hurried and whipped out my DS out of my backpack and used her Wi-Fi to get the game, and then I put it away before she came back out. So she didn't know, because I wasn't gonna be like, hey babe, I'm gonna use your Wi-Fi to get this sweet Pokemon, hope you don't mind.
Well, dude, that was such an interesting thing, man. Back I was like 17, 18, like it was more taboo to be into something like Pokemon or Nintendo or even like anime or things like of that nature. There's more taboo to do that stuff than it was to like smoke pot. It was so common that, almost everyone that I personally know, or most of them, maybe not necessarily my like core group of friends, but most people I know, they would smoke and stuff. And hardly anyone had ever have a conversation about like this kind of more, I don't mean nerd in like a derogatory way, but just in a sense where it's like, what would have been classified as that like 10 plus years ago. Now it's like, it's everywhere. I saw a guy yesterday on a news report where he was with his wife and kid and he was wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt. And you just go out and about now, and it's, that, like, there's even a person I know, like a business guy that I personally know, and he's like, his late 40s, and he was wearing like a Japanese style Jaws poster t-shirt. And like I've seen him wear like a Mickey Mouse shirt before, and it's I don't know, I just feel like stuff like that's kind of like really, that's kind of like the culture today, is that kind of like property driven stuff. But
well, all of that, I mean, it depends on what you're looking at, but I feel like a lot of that stuff originated when our generation were kids. Right. So it's like now that we're adults and we're grown, we're hanging on to it just because it was such a big part of our childhoods and we enjoy it. And so now that we're sort of hanging on to it and we still enjoy it and we're adults, and so we have the power to kind of like sort of, I guess, put it out there and like sort of make it a mainstream thing, it's become more of a mainstream thing.
I mean, look how crazy it is, right? I look back at like how many of the properties are still big today, like, or things are big today. Like, I feel like so many of them came from like the 90s. Like, even like, look at like basketball, for example. Like, people talk about, the greatest team of all time was, the Bulls, the 96, 97 Bulls. And it's like, again, when we were kids, or you look at, again, shows like, I feel like a lot of properties, like whether it be like Pokemon or Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros. Or even certain animes, like I feel like a lot of those things like came out like when we were all kids. It's kind of like what you were saying, like we kind of all grew up, and then like we just kind of brought those things with us, like they just kind of never left. And I mean, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think a lot of that has to do with just sort of the technology age of it all, because I mean, obviously there were things that there were things before that people really enjoyed and liked and stuff, but I think the reason why the things, particularly like you're saying from the 90s or maybe even like late 80s, that have just stuck so well is because the technology during that time kind of escalated, I guess, or just like advanced so quickly to the point where before we knew it, we had like the internet and things like that, to where we could talk about it with other people who also enjoyed it. You could share it out, obviously, especially when social media got to the point to where it was a thing. You could share it, and I think that is a huge part of it, because I think a huge factor of people kind of sticking with these sort of interests that they have versus kind of abandoning it and doing something else is having someone to enjoy that interest with. And sometimes, especially if you're a teenager who just doesn't want to get like flamed or made fun of, you're not going to tell anyone that you like Pokemon, but you want to enjoy it with someone just because it's so much more fun to like be able to talk about, or just I guess like play and enjoy this type of stuff with someone else as opposed to just on your own. And so the internet sort of gave so many people an outlet to do that, to where you could go, like, I mean, early 2000s, it would have been like a forum or something like that, to where you could, like, if you didn't have anyone in your immediate real life circle, you could go on a forum and find a bunch of people to talk about it with. Or once YouTube became a thing, you could go on YouTube and watch videos from people who felt the exact same way you did, and there's just that all that content you could dive into. So the internet, with the rise of the internet, it really gave people an outlet to sort of just connect with other people who had that shared interest and share that interest. And I think that plays a huge part in sort of keeping that stuff alive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're totally right. And I mean, just having the community. And I think that's probably one thing just generally that's like so good about YouTube, is that pretty much, I mean, for any kind of interest you have, there's a community for that. And I think that I don't know, I think that's a really good thing. The fact that, like, if someone wants to listen to talk about, whatever it may be, I mean, if it's, you want to do a deep dive about the history of Nickelodeon shows or creepy stuff, or, certain anime, like, it's cool that there's like a whole community built in for that. Whereas, like in the past, that never existed. I mean, I never knew anywhere in the past people could talk about Pokemon for hours, or DBZ for hours, or I mean, even like Mario or retro games. I mean, I've learned things about game production that I never even thought I would want to know 10 years ago. Like, you look up stuff
Right.
where it's like, oh, look at these polygons from Mario 64 and look at this or that. And it's like, whoa, like, I never even thought I would even care to watch that. Now here I am having it on in the background. I'm listening to this whole thing about, Super Mario N64 at whatever Galaxy World or whatever it was called in 1995 or whatever the heck year it was. And
Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Are you thinking about starting a business or a side hustle? Writer Junkie offers website development, content writing, and SEO services for businesses. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. We'd also like to thank the Tax Defense Group for being a sponsor.
so, dude, I'm glad for Pokemon community. I mean, I know the Super Smash Bros. Community recently had, they just had things that happened in the community that were very bad. And I'm glad that I haven't really heard of, maybe I'm just ignorant about it, but I'm glad that I really haven't heard anything like that from the Pokemon community. And I kind of hope that nothing like that comes the Pokemon community's way.
Right. I hate to it's kind of hard because specifically with the Smash Bros thing that happened, it's such a tricky situation just because I almost I hate the fact that sort of that happened within the Smash community, because then it gets labeled as a thing that the Smash community produced, when that's sort of not the case at all. It just happened that the things that occurred with people that happened to be a member of the Super Smash Bros. Community. It wasn't a product of the Smash Bros. Community, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense.
Because it's people are going to do crummy things in all walks of life. So you shouldn't blame, I guess, video games or the Smash Bros. Community specifically, and it shouldn't ruin the Smash Bros. Community just because something like that happened to have happened. I get why there's fallout and things like that, but it really shouldn't be a end all be all to where there's a stigma on the Smash community or whatever. There's this no one looks at it the same. It's just it's super unfortunate that it happened, but don't go 99% of people in the Smash Bros. Community are I'm sure great, beautiful, wonderful people. So
I definitely feel when I heard about that, when I heard about Zero was the one that I've heard the most about, specifically. I don't really know who the other people were, but when I thought, I'm this prominent guy in the Smash community and kind of the face of it, my first thought was even who made that guy the face of it? I've personally been playing Super Smash Bros. Probably longer than he has. I played the first generation when it first came out. I remember in the 90s playing it, coming home from school, playing with my brother, and I never in my life ever thought this guy Zero is talking for me in the Super Smash Bros. Community. I know that he was a very good player and that he had won tournaments, but I'm thinking, dude, I thought the community would be the people that developed the game and all of us are equal, but I don't know, just stuff that I've heard about him, and I've had, I'm sure you've noticed, so Introspective, the Super Smash Bros, or he talks a lot about Super Smash Bros, he's recently joined, our podcast network and stuff, and he made a video about this on his own channel, and I listened to it, but yeah, it's, I don't know, man, I just feel with what he did, dude, I don't know. I don't even like that whole idea of somebody even representing a community. Unless, the person representing it actually, developed the game. I feel I don't know. The whole situation I just thought was really bad. And just, I hope, in a sense, I almost wish that there weren't even people that were visible mascots for a community. So that way, if they do something bad or, they stumble and whatnot, that way,
right,
the whole community won't get slammed. Because at the end of the day, games like Pokemon or Super Smash Bros., they're just meant to be pure. They're just games. They're not meant to have any kind of weird thing. And then I know Pokemon, I know a lot of people have kind of, there's the joke. It's don't search for Pokemon with, what is it called? Safe search off. It's always make safe searches on for Pokemon. And it's it's I think when the developers made Pokemon, they probably didn't mean for people to make images that were sexualized of Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's just what people did.
that's what you get when you create something like the internet, where people can just throw something on it and not have like their face attached to it. There's no repercussions if they just like throw it up, you're behind a keyboard. But I mean, also like that's just part of human nature, as sad of a fact as that may be. So it's sort of important to take things like that with a grain of salt. Like, don't, like, in this situation, it would be very much, there's the classic saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. In this situation, it's don't hate the game, hate the player.
Yeah, I like that. It's totally inverted. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like Pokemon. I mean, like you look at like some Pokedex entries and it's like, yeah, I mean, some of them might sound a little funky. You read it and you're like, oh, that's weird. But like, I still don't think at the end of the day. I mean, they meant it to be, I think, like a harmless franchise about people catching monsters and fighting them. They didn't mean for people to make weird images of Gardevoir, or she, like a sexualized human, or like even like for Super Smash Bros. Like, I seriously doubt, like, when they created the first games, they thought, oh, somewhere down the line, some guy that's like a really good competitor is going to have a YouTube channel and he's going to use his clout to like commit like sexual crimes. You know what I mean? If that's what ended up happening. Again, I don't know the full story, but like from what I've seen people talk about. But yeah, Sakurai does. I mean, they probably don't even care about that stuff. Like, what do they care about the competitive side of it?
I mean, Sakurai, he didn't even create Smash Bros. To be a competitive game, and he resisted the idea of it being competitive for a long time before, I guess, they realized the potential that it had as like a type of thing that could be like an esport. So like, it wasn't even his intention at all for it to be that competitive game that it is. It's just supposed to be a fun game. You bring your friends over to play, and you basically just have a party, you yell at each other, and you have a good time. That is what Smash Bros. Is supposed to be, is a game about having a good time. And it's totally fine that it's like competitive now, because obviously people are having a good time playing it that way, which is good. But that sort of just shows the, I guess, the human aspect of it, to where, like, again, the creator himself, like, not only didn't want all those things as a part of it, obviously, but he didn't even make it as like the competitive thing that it is. It's just supposed to be a game that you play and have a good time with your friends.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I think a lot of these game developers, I think that's how they view most of their games. Like, they say, oh, we just created this for fun. We didn't create this for people to like kill each other, over, or like fight about it. So I mean,
right.
It's a very interesting thing. Hey, I want to ask you a little bit about the big project that you're involved with, the Pokemon Cardinal and everything, and if you wouldn't mind kind of talking a little bit about it and what it is and how you would describe it and everything.
So basically, Pokemon Cardinal is a thing that I wanted to do as sort of just like a huge. I just wanted to do a big project that just, I guess, knocked everyone's socks off and was just kind of like this next level thing, to where it just was really, really high quality. And essentially what it is just me making my own Pokemon region with like my own Pokemon and characters and everything. And sort of the key, I guess, like thing that makes it unique is it plays out just like a game, in terms of kind of, we go through all the different cities and towns and like find the Pokemon and things like that. But because it's a video series, not a game, it plays out more like a visual novel in terms of its style, which brings a lot of uniqueness to it. And I think it gives it a certain charm. But ultimately, it's just like, I wanted to make, like, so many Pokemon fans, especially kind of as kids, we all like made our own Pokemon just on our own, and that was kind of a thing that like a lot of people did like as kids, and even to this day, like it's just a thing that, I don't know, just like letting your imagination run wild and kind of creating your own world is just super fun. And I did that a lot as a kid, and so I kind of thought that, like, now that I'm a YouTuber, I have this audience that I could share with so many people, and I have the resources to really make it like really super awesome. I wanted to do that, so it's just something that I wanted to do to just make something as high quality and as awesome as I possibly could. And so far, it's been just that way. It's been awesome. So,
how long have you had this idea in your mind for?
So I started working on it. It was actually about exactly 2 years ago, because it was like late summer of 2018 that I started working on it, and then we started doing the videos in July of this year. So,
how many people are involved with you on this project?
Between, let's see, there is on the one hand, it is just me, like in terms of writing everything, coming up with the Pokemon ideas and the region. That's all just me. But I have a few artists that I've worked with that obviously make the whole thing come to life. I've dealt with a couple different musicians that have helped me make music for it. I've worked with a bunch of different like voice actors, because I've brought in like Poketubers to do like voice characters for me and stuff. And so
nice.
All in all, there's like a really good handful of people that have all sort of came together to make this like a reality. I've even had people, I worked with a guy who helped me make sprites for it, because I like recreated the red and blue intro as the intro for this, and so he helped me make some sprites to replicate that. And so like there's a bunch of really talented people behind it that have really made it possible as well. So
dude, that's awesome, man. Dude, that's awesome that like it's like coming to life right in front of you. I mean, like you've already put some stuff out there, you're working on new stuff. Like, dude, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's been super fun. I've loved the reception and how like into it everyone has been, and it was almost kind of a relief, because when people were when I was kind of like making the trailers about it and just like dropping information and stuff, a lot of people I guess didn't know what to expect, because they were like, is this a game? Like, how is this gonna work? What is this? And for me it was clear, just because like I had the concept in my mind, but I guess like it was sort of, I guess, a more difficult thing to grasp the idea of, because I don't think like something like this really, as far as I'm aware, hasn't really been done in this way on YouTube. And so it's sort of a new thing. But when it came out, it ended up like the videos played out exactly as I like pictured it in my head, which was such a gratifying feeling, because it essentially told me that I wasn't crazy, and that something like this like could actually happen and work and like flow well and everything. And when people sort of saw like the first episode or two and got the idea of what it was like, then it sort of set in that, oh yeah, this is what it is. And like people really got into it, which is really cool to see. Like there have been so many comments on all the videos. And so like anyone out there listening who's enjoying it, thank you for watching. Thank you for enjoying it. 'Cause I love kind of seeing how into it everyone is.
How many videos do you have planned for the series in total?
So without giving away like I guess the exact number ish, it's around, I think it's going to end up being around like 20-ish episodes maybe. That's sort of a rough like ballpark though. And then there are a couple kind of I guess like post series videos I want to do, because right now obviously we're just doing like I guess the story like part of it, but I do kind of want to make a video. A lot of people have been asking me of just like a sort of a quick overview that just like has all the Pokemon I made, the region, and just kind of all the hot points just all in one like neat little video. So it's like you can, if you just want to see the Pokemon, you can just go watch that video or whatever. And then I was planning maybe another video or two like that as well. So, and then it's also like I didn't want it to be over and done with really quick, like too quickly, because I worked on it for so long. So I've also just been doing the episodes every other week as well, to sort of give it a nice little run before it, I guess, wraps up, because it's nice to just be able to, I guess, soak it all in now that it's a thing and it's out, and like I said, people are enjoying it.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. Dude, well, hopefully, so what, do you think, just kind of roughly, I mean, do you think the last video will be up like within like a year or so, or?
I don't think it's going to take that long. I kind of feel like it'll be pretty well like wrapped up, if not completely wrapped up by the end of the year. That's kind of the
so it'll be like 4.5 months.
That's sort of the time frame I'm seeing right now. So like it'll have a nice, good, long, like I said, a nice long run, but it's not going to be dragged out either. So.
Well, excellent, man. Dude, yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that. And dude, yeah, when I first, because I think I first heard about it when you were tweeting about it, and dude, I think that's awesome, dude. And I think you should be proud of yourself, man. You accomplished something really cool, dude. And who knows, man, maybe this will lead to your own creation of like your own original like IP, in the sense of like something completely unrelated to Pokemon. Like,
yeah.
Now that you've already now that you already have all this collection of talent, I mean, obviously what you're doing, obviously it's original, but I mean something like totally like a whole new IP that like you could own and market and stuff, dude. Like hopefully that something like that could come of this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, like I said, a big reason why I wanted to do this project was just because I wanted to improve on myself. I wanted to make something that was next level, and I just wanted to make something that was so high quality that could just be kind of a step above everything else. Not to say I want to be better than everyone else or whatever, but I wanted to just make something just that was as good as it possibly could be. And now that this is out, and like I said, it turned out exactly kind of the way I envisioned it. But now that I'm sort of seeing it play out and all this stuff, I have sort of, I guess, this desire to make something even better, because I can see little things that, oh, this could be better if I did it this way or whatever. And there's kind of just this feeling brewing that I love Pokemon Cardinal and how it's turned out. It's basically as good as I could have hoped for or dreamed. But there's just kind of that sense of but what if I made something better? I feel like I could make something better. What could that be like? So, I mean, beyond the project itself, I think a lot of good things are going to come from it in terms of just my channel, because I think it's going to spark I think it is kind of the starting point for a lot of other exciting things that are going to come to my channel, and from just I guess what I'm going to be working on in the future, which is really exciting.
Nice. Well, definitely, man. Dude, that is some very exciting stuff. You got a lot of stuff going on, and dude, definitely, man. It's really cool, dude. And it's been really cool working with you so far on UCast Studios and everything. And dude, you've definitely been a huge help so far. And dude, yeah, even for us, man, dude, then it's gonna be some really cool stuff that's gonna come out of everything that we're doing together. And yeah, man, hopefully have you had a chance to look at the website? Yeah,
it looks really awesome. It's really, really well made.
Well, nice, dude. Well, yeah, thank you for that, man. And yeah, dude, the site, I mean, it has all of the new podcasts that you create, they're also on there. And dude, we got some cool stuff happening, man. Definitely, I'm very thankful for you being involved with this. And I mean, even with your own stuff, I mean, you got, like I said, dude, it sounds like you got a lot of stuff on your plate, and dude, it's all good stuff. But yeah, man, I guess if you wouldn't mind maybe shouting out your social accounts and your channel, how can we watch all of the stuff that you're doing and creating, and your commentary and everything?
Yeah, so obviously you got the Pokeblock podcast here on UCast Studios, comes out every Friday. And then on my channel, Hoops and Hip Hop, it's just on YouTube. I do obviously the Pokemon Cardinal, but then I do Pokemon facts, trivia, theories, just all that good stuff. And then my Twitter is Instagram, Facebook, that's all the same thing, Hoops and Hip Hop as well. And those are also a lot of fun, because I mean, I sort of like I've been posting a lot of the Cardinal like artwork and stuff on Instagram, which has been a good time. And then on Twitter's kind of like sort of, I guess, a little more just laid back. Like if I want to, if I have something funny I want to share, and I can just like go there and share it. Like I post a lot of memes and just, I guess, like personal stuff too. So that's a fun thing to follow me on there for. So yeah. And yeah, so if you want to go check me out, that's where I'm at.
Nice. Dude, have you ever seen the Twitter account Out of Context Pokemon?
Oh yeah, I think I follow it actually. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
Dude, I like that one. I don't know why, man. Like like my mind told me 20 minutes ago to like mention that Twitter handle, and for some reason it just came out right now when we were talking about it. But nah, dude, yeah, no, you do post some good stuff, dude. And I mean, I know the social media, like, yeah, it's probably more bad than good, but dude, sometimes it can be really helpful and stuff. And all right, man. Well, Hoops, thank you again for coming on, dude, and we'll talk to you later.